nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time, like a little book club for music. I'm Petey Rave, and I am certainly always up for some adorable twee coming-of-age anime, but here with me is my crew, my team, not my harem, and it's pronounced harem. Shout out to King Cass. My squad. We've got David.
Buenos tacos, muchachos. This episode is brought to you by Victory Sour Monkey Ale.
Nice. We've got Matt.
I'm just drinking water tonight.
Shout out to the Hydro homies.
We've got Brett.
I promise 100% of the vocals on this podcast will also be in English.
Yes. Almost. And then we've also got a guest. And David, you were the one who recommended our guest for us. I'll let you do the honors of introducing her.
I did recommend our guest on this episode of Record Breakers. Everybody, today's guest is a very dear internet friend of mine. She is a blogger and YouTuber. You can find her show Nerdy News, and you can just check out her blog. She is an anime reviewer girl extraordinaire. Please welcome to the Record Breakers podcast, Miss Shay Taree. Shay, thank you and welcome to Record Breakers.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
We're going to have a good time. We're going to talk, of course, we're going to be talking about music. And Shay, you have brought us an album, kind of a different than we usually do, but it's a nice deviation. It's a nice like new adventure for us. But what have you brought for us?
So I brought the second collection for the anime Carole Tuesday. It's pretty much the part 2 to the anime series. And that's what I brought for you guys today. I absolutely love this album. There are many songs on here that just kind of like, it just had a real good mix of songs. It's a various of artists on there that are from the show, and a lot of the songs that are done in the show, kind of like your typical kind of soundtrack.
Yeah.
But the music varied definitely from like playing like EDM music to it being like R&B feel to it also having some like slower tones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about expectations. I don't know. Is this going to be fun? Brett, I'm curious. What expectations did you have coming into this?
Well, first off, I had to figure out how I could do like copy and paste because the title of the album, because I clicked on it and I did not assume that like when I hit play that I was going to be hearing a lot of English. We do cover a lot of international albums, and sometimes it takes a little bit of work. But once I was like, oh, that's a very direct translation. I can figure this out from now. And navigating stuff where you don't necessarily always have, we cover old stuff with Wikipedia pages that are a mile long. This one took a little bit of effort, but it wasn't the most. But I
find Luke.
Yeah, I have no idea. My years of having free time to watch anime have passed. At least for the time being. So I was not familiar with this at all. When we get into like the songs, I will tell you how wrong I was in detail.
Yeah. Matt, what were your expectations?
Kind of none. Like I knew that it was an anime, but I also know that like Cowboy Bebop has a really bitchin' opening theme, and so like I had no idea what to expect music-wise.
Mm-hmm. David, I assume you had a little bit more expectations, but I don't know if this is your genre of anime.
Well, I will say that I did watch Carole Tuesday. I am familiar with the anime. I'm familiar with the concept of the two young ladies and their dreams of success in the music industry. And I recognized a couple of the songs on this album. but I was ready to dive into the album as a whole because I remember watching the anime, its first season, and really gravitating towards a couple of the characters, one in particular. And since this is an album that is focused on music, I expected it to be. uh, I expected it to be pretty well done, pretty well composed, and I had an idea of what the main genre would be, given the two main characters of the show. I understood that this was a soundtrack. This is not an album. This is a soundtrack for a TV series, and I went into that understanding and pretty much ready to go. Since I already watched the anime, I was ready to dive in.
Hmm. I was curious because this seems like this is an anime I'd been meaning to check out, and when Shay said to me that this is her choice, I was like, you know what? Finally, I'm stopping. I need to stop being lazy. I need to actually pull up Netflix. I need to start watching, and I did. I started watching. I'm still only a few episodes in, but yeah, this is a kind of like the kind of TV show that is right up my alley. Uh, me being the guy that his favorite show is Gilmore Girls. Like I think like it this is the kind of thing that just like I enjoy fully. But yeah, I was curious about the sound, especially after watching a little bit of the anime, and I was curious to see like how it explores and represents and showcases the cool music that was the seemingly cool music that was created for the show. So, but yeah, musically, Shay, how would you describe this collection musically, this OST, if you will?
I would say it's definitely like it's like mit like a mishmash of like a lot of different genres. So like I couldn't ever pinpoint it as just one. And I think because it was a soundtrack, that was mostly why. Because in the show itself, it has this realm of going into different genres of music based on the characters. So like one of the characters is really not heavily into EDM, but he's like a DJ. So his song on that soundtrack is totally just EDM music, what he's into. And then one of the characters, Angela, her music is definitely like an R&B kind of a feel, whereas, Carole Tuesday's music is a little bit more of that. I don't want to say like a natural sound, but it's not something that's overly done in like a record studio. So it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint on like what I would call it.
Yeah,
I call this acoustic pop.
yeah,
That's
Yeah,
what
I like that.
yeah. Brett, how would you describe this collection musically?
I mean, it does jump around genres a little bit, but like there's a lot. It's a lot of upbeat vocal focused. Like a lot of it is it's a lot like indie pop. It's not quite. It's because like regular pop music right now is practically EDM anyway. This is more along the lines of more indie sounding. So the vocals um, the vocals have a way of especially when you're dealing with duets, the way that you do your harmonies is a little different, and on some of the songs this was almost like you could almost make it into a western song by changing two things. And it's one of those like when you have a song that's upbeat, and you have the harmonies with it, a positive song, it fits a lot of molds. But the vocals definitely have it's mainly a vocal album, in how they mix it. Like a lot of the times you'll hear like the guitars, there'll be dirty guitars in the bottom end, but they don't step on the vocals. And they also keep the mix so that you can hear the beats along with it. Sometimes they even use the piano along with the beat like you do with a lot of modern pop now. There's a lot of emotion that's put into these songs, but they don't do it the cheap way that I hate, which is when you just throw a cello or a piano in a room. You're like, okay, let's put some echo on this, and or like the opposite. If you want to make something upbeat, people cheat with like using bells and a ukulele. There are cheap ways to make things sound a certain way, and they did it with different instrumentation. It was not heavy-handed at all, and it like dodging the cheese made it feel a lot more modern of a like it because
I feel like
Man,
that could be
there's-
the name of a book or an album. Dodging
my-
the cheese.
my review of pop music from high school till now is dodging the cheese. But no, like they definitely, like, these songs are well written. Like they've all got a really good hook. And like there's so many people who have their hands in it that, like, I got to search a lot of names, but like for what I know and for the vocabulary I have to describe it, like this was not at all what I thought I was going to be getting when I saw a guitar case next to a. I had no idea what the album art was actually explaining to me until I looked it up and Googled it.
Yeah.
So
It's a Watanabe joint, so you know the music is going to be done right.
like yes, the music was like most definitely. It's almost as if the music is the thing that the story is about, and they put the same amount of effort into it as they did into writing it.
Yeah.
Go figure. It was really good.
Matt, how would you describe this collection musically?
A whole lot of it was a whole lot of different genres. Kind of one of the overriding things though was the vocals, which were always well executed. They were usually pretty poppy, whether the modern EDM pop or the piano heavy with breathy vocals. But no matter what it was always well executed.
David, how would you describe this collection musically?
I would describe this as a good, maybe not perfect examination of all of the characters in the anime. Obviously, the two main characters are the focus, but you do get a little bit of Angela as well, and I'm going to talk about her a little bit later. I think her story is a pretty strong story arc. I think that also the guys covered it pretty well. There's a good mix of modern acoustic pop. I won't go so far as to say lo-fi, but it's kind of getting to that point in that it's not superly overproduced. I also think lyrically, this album, given that it's a soundtrack and it tells a story that is about a number of characters, does a really good job of telling a little piece of the character story arcs. And I think that was really important given that this is a soundtrack. You don't get that often with a lot of movie soundtracks, television soundtracks, and even anime soundtracks. And they really did a good job with the character arcs and explaining why they're doing what they're doing. So on top of the music being just generally very easy to sit down and listen to, maybe almost a little too easy to just sit down and listen to, they did a really good job of giving you just enough of the characters to give you a little bit more insight into the anime. It's a good companion piece to the anime.
Yeah, I think the variety helps with kind of like connecting with the fact that it's an ensemble cast and there's these distinct personalities and but what's a Carole? Even like the moments, and we'll get into tracks, but even the times you have like repeating tracks, they're in here to represent how it was, like the distinct arrangements that make sense for the scene that's representing, or the distinct arrangements for a couple of things is really cool to have included, and you realize why they included both versions. And but yeah, let's talk about some key tracks. Shay, what would be some of the key tracks that you would zero in on or focus on?
So for me, like some of my favorite tracks on this album is I really like Give You the World. And I actually like both the Flora version and I like Carole Tuesday's version.
Yeah.
That I don't know, that song I love so much. But I would probably say between those two tracks, I kind of gravitate towards Carole Tuesday's version a little bit more. And then the other song I really like also is I like Mother, which is where it's the ensemble of all the voices, coming together to sing that one song.
Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
The Army of Two, like it's a pretty high point on the album, in all varieties. But the the second time we hear it in the album, when it's a cleaner sound, you can hear the like the harmonies that exist in the range way above anywhere that I've ever really hung out. When I listen to music, I don't really hear a lot of duets between women, and when they go for the harmony up, that always impresses me. And there's some very high pitched singing and done cleanly, which for I'm not really the vocals guy, but judging vocals as an instrument, they did a pretty good job. Beautiful breakdown near the back of the album. You sort of get like the post punk feel, kind of like The Cure, but with a little bit of the like modern new wave, like the Killers did when they started doing like their Americana stuff. Like, so you get that delayed out chorusy jangle guitar, and like that 80s, like, your new romantic bass tone, but you also get like synth and drums of a more modern feel, so it doesn't just feel straight up like a song by The Cure. But like that's a good example of being in, like, showing your inspirations but not like completely just redoing something. There's definitely things that are clean and modern in a way that would stand out even from the stuff that the Killers were doing a decade ago. A decade ago. But yeah, and After the Fire also stood out. That was where they used the piano as like an extension of the drums and the electric beat. So like it's a very percussive, and it adds like it's a big wall of sound for the beat to be hanging out in, but it leaves a really big area for the vocals to come through. And like there's guitars going on that you can barely hear. Like if the mix was just a little bit more, I wonder if they were going to lose some of the vocals, so they turned it down. But like when I really threw my headphones on and listened to it, I could tell there's a lot more going on these tracks. And then back to Army of Two, like if you would have put a steel guitar in there, and instead of having the beat be the exact same, you could totally turn that guitar and make it into a really high pitched steel guitar, like screaming. Like that is like one of those Swiss Army knives of songs that like could be redone in like 8 different genres because the hook is good, and it's made of good pieces put together. It builds up really well. That made me like start thinking about like the things I had forgotten about how you make a song that gets stuck in people's heads.
Yeah.
Like the actual science. They got it right with that one.
Yeah. Matt, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
So speaking of Army of Two with steel guitar, I'm not entirely convinced there isn't a little bit of steel guitar buried away in there about halfway through.
That sustain that just sits there?
Yeah, it had the tone. It's probably more likely that they just used some sort of synthesizer, sampling, whatever, but I heard it and I'm like, is that a pedal steel? Is that a steel guitar? Because it had that tone that is, for whatever reason, extremely unique to steel.
And it was up there.
It was in the range as well.
Yeah.
Army of Two, it had really nice harmonies. I liked I guess it was guitar combined with piano. The punches kind of they were doing with the reverb was really nice. And an extra shout out to the first track, which is Army of Two Street Scene, which did a really good job of showcasing the vocals and just the cleanliness with which they were singing. Give You the World, Carole Tuesday version. I just like this song. There were certain aspects that kind of, I think it was it's you get a strat and then you put it between the neck and the middle position, so it was kind of that surf guitar tone that kind of drew to me. And lastly, Day by Day. I have to say I was a little bit hopeful it would be a cover of the Godspell song, not because it's like a particular favorite of mine, but I just thought it would be fun. It was not, but it did have a nice groove. and it took me a little bit, but I figured out the electric guitar on it, has an effect that is identical to the one on the Joe Walsh song "Tomorrow."
So somebody's, there are some things you hear
That is
once, you
deep
hear enough, and you
cut.
I get that. I can hear like a AC-30 with a rat from a mile away, and it's a curse that that every time I hear it. So
Yeah.
now I
It's
know
like,
if I hear a Joe Walsh noise, I'm coming to you.
God, I don't know if I have that deep of a knowledge, but it was just that. Is it a flanger or a chorus or a phaser? I don't know. I'm not
Some kind of
familiar.
modulation, but yeah,
It's
there's a
some kind
lot
of
of that.
modulation / delay, and I'm like, where do I know that from? It's
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Which,
Tomorrow?
again, like, it's not even one of my favorite songs or anything. It's just one that sticks in my mind.
Yeah. So those, memorable music is memorable, even no matter where it sits in your mind.
Kids
guess
call that
so.
an earworm.
Exactly. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
This album had 19 tracks on it, so I had quite a few actually. Two tracks together, Miserere Me Deus and All I See. Those songs were a mood, as the kids say. I felt like it was a mix of kind of a melancholy, calm, and the lyrics on All I See, this idea of accepting the end and being ready for the finality of life and death and knowing when it's time to go. I think that was a really interesting story that it was telling. Give You the World. I liked Flora's version. And the vocalist, Jessica Karpoff, really, really impressed me on this one. I love strong, powerful female vocalists. And I ended up looking up her name. Her name is Jessica Karpoff. And I absolutely loved her performance on this song. She absolutely killed it. Lights Go Out. I felt like this was throughout the album. It does have a little bit of an acoustic poppy feel with some R&B mixed in. But I enjoyed Lights Go Out. Because I was ready for a vibe change. I was ready for that change. And yes, I will admit, make all of the jokes you want about douchey EDM. I really enjoyed the drop on this track. I enjoyed it. I was feeling it. I was feeling that.
You can't argue with that.
I can't either. I like that song too.
Yeah, like yeah. It was,
It got to the point where it got to Endless, where I was ready for another change of pace, and the album was kind of going through the mood of being very lo-fi and almost melancholy once we got to this album. But I think it really finished strong, like Shay said, with Mother, where we hear everyone on that song, and I think it finished really, really strong.
yeah, not a cover. Not this one is also not a cover. Not that, some other. Yeah, I think that there's some really strong songs.
Maybe Detroit Metal City if they bring that anime back, but
Definitely.
not this one.
No, not this one. I will say, I definitely agree with like a lot of what you guys touched on. Army of Two. I will say Army and Two. Everything that you guys said. Also, I would love if somebody made like an anime music video of this song, but using clips of Kanan Lynch. That other Army of Two, just set to this song and like with the mood of the show. That would be fantastic. Kanan Lynch. Miserere Me Deus. God have mercy on me. I think it's something like that. Yeah, God have mercy on me. It is what I kept thinking.
One here.
Yeah. I have Google Translate. Many of us.
Mr. Fancy over here.
Both of those songs are really great. I think this one in particular, what kept sticking to me until you get to the second song, that is a little bit more of a pop and techno, like more of a different like electronics feel. This one felt, because it was just a good piano. This felt like I don't know, either the the Who or somebody like a 70s rock band, their really emotional, like moody song that the lead singer sings with the keyboard guy until like and at some point it like there's a pause and then it's like it goes into like the proper like upbeat song. I can't. There's a song in my head that does exactly like that. I just can't remember what the song is. But it's like if you listen to that song and expect a like 70s rock like thing, like it is a whole other thing. But also like it tells the story of a character that I keep reading on that I'm looking forward to seeing their story in this show, which is Desmond. I'm looking forward to seeing their story throughout the show. I haven't met them yet, but I look forward to it. Is what I'll say. Yeah, and a couple of others. Give You the World. I like both of the ones. I think I lean towards the Flora version, but I like the. But I don't know. I can't pick. I like them both for what they are, and I love the idea of like, okay, this is it's perfect as this is the original song, and this is what somebody who loves that singer how they would cover it. Especially if they're like playing, this is how they play, but they're also trying to be true to the original song. So like it's like the way those two are arranged differently in such a way is so well that makes sense to have been done by two different people. And what else? There's a lot of songs. I mean, I love the EDM songs slap. Erdogan, I've already, I barely met the character, but Erdogan is the quintessential like douchebag EDM DJ, and it's fantastic, and I love that. We need to make music for that guy, so they just call Stevie Aoki, and it's like, okay, it works well.
Give me an hour.
Yeah, and he's got it. But also, Lights Go Out is great on that, but I will say "Take Me Now" in particular is also not to be disregarded, because I think that's a great setup track. And even though I will say when I heard it, the thing I ended up thinking is like, did I accidentally boot up Forza Horizon? Like, but it's like it's that sound and that instrumentation is like I kept thinking like the menu music for Forza Horizon 4. But it's just done well, and like, yeah, things like Beautiful Breakdown and a couple of the other songs. Mother, We Are the Mars. It's like that's the We Are the World. It's like, we are the Mars. We are the space children. I think it worked really well. Yeah, let's talk about let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, I was impressed with this album from start to finish. It was a really easy album to review, and for being as long as it is, and being like it's not overly long, but it's longer than a lot of the things that we've brought. That wasn't like some nightmare double album that I put on to you guys. But it's dense, and there are things going on. There's no like dead zone in it that you get with 70s prog rock albums or something. This is a very dense song, like, and we don't really get a lot of albums where there are that many people with like different musical backgrounds making music together. So that was kind of a neat change. Is this something that I mean, this might show up in a playlist, and I wouldn't be mad because this is like endlessly listenable. This is something that like most of these they could be playing in a department store, and 2 weeks ago I would not have known that this wasn't music made for an anime, which is, but it also does not. You can see the effort that was put in a way that we've heard some cheaper poppy albums in the past that did things a little different. This is well produced, but not in a way that it's crispy on the other side. It's clean in a way that's not like they're not doing vocal gymnastics for the sake of singing every note. The times that they do vocal flourishes, they mean it. It's the only thing that I could say, if you're not really into this genre at all, it's not gonna like rock your world, but it's not gonna hurt either. There's something musically here for just about anyone, even grumpy old men like me.
Matt.
You're not grumpy, Brett.
Not now.
You're one of the most amicable people I know. You're not grumpy at all.
Speaking of grumpy old men, Matt.
Well, now Matt
Pretty
on the other
much.
I remember when we met Matt and he was 17 going on 40. Matt, how would you conclude? What would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Sorry, I was trying to remember if I was 16.
I think he might have been 16.
I think it was 17 though.
Going on 17, elegant as a rose.
This just got awkward. It had some enjoyable moments. Everything was extremely well executed. It is fun to pick apart the effects and figure out which Joe Walsh song it comes from. Ultimately, I'm not crazy about this album, but it's like Brett said, it didn't hurt me either. It's just not really my particular genre of music in general, and I don't see myself listening to it again on purpose.
David, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I got a lot out of this. I will say that when it came to the anime and the overall music of Carole Tuesday, I liked it, but I didn't love it. They're a little too soft pop for me, generally.
Very twee.
Yeah, twee would be a good word. It's why I liked Florist Tract so much. It had energy. It's why I like Lights Go Out so much. It had energy, and I really like that in this album and on this show. The anime itself, I will say, I watched it, I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I liked it. I think that it's definitely one to watch. The actual album and soundtrack that we reviewed was pretty enjoyable. There was nothing really grating or really anything that would, I think, turn anybody away. I think that there are some stronger tracks of various genres all over this album. And I think it's worth a listen, especially if you've already watched the anime. And if you're curious about the anime, I think Shay and I would both say, yeah, it's a good watch.
Yeah, I mean, and also on the twee front, I would say I absolutely love twee shit.
Yeah, yeah, you totally do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I can't help it. I love cutesy shit. And it speaks to me. So I absolutely adored this, and this album made me look forward to progressing through the show. I can definitely see like it is a even like from the parts I've seen, it's nice, it's sweet, it's a good show. There are the allegories are a little on the nose. Like 99% of music is made by AI, except for these real musician girls that make real music. And it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's like, but it's not. But it's fine. It's it's a simple allegory meant to kind of like get you into, tell you that quickly to get to the the meat of it, which is all these like feel good stories about kind of believing in yourself and finding some friendship and companionship, which is nice.
So did they explain like how old that Gibson Hummingbird is? Because I did notice that it looks like they got the Gibson license for this.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
That would be. Those things are expensive.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, that's kind of the sense.
Broke for this entire show. They are flat broke.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tuesday comes from money. That's the premise. So it makes sense that she has the incredibly expensive Gibson guitar, and she has the kind of like fold away, pretty good electric keyboard that you probably save up and scrounge up money maybe skip some rent to finally buy. It's like it feels like it makes sense.
Yeah, on the main picture for the Wikipedia article, it's definitely a Nord brand keyboard.
Which is also a
Very
upwards
expensive.
of $10,000 keyboard.
It's also folds in half.
That's cool. The future's bright for everyone.
Exactly. Future's right for Nord.
But there were episodes where they didn't have much to eat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, that's true being a musician.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? Yeah. That's authentic.
That's just called musician priorities.
Exactly. But yeah, this album does a great job of exploring the stories and exploring the characters and like representing them. And I'm looking forward to finishing the show and watching the story go forward. But yeah, last but not least, Shay, how would you conclude? What would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I would say as a whole for this album that if you've seen the show, you will definitely like pick out which songs are your favorites and which songs like from the show you automatically either want to hear completely or want to hear over and over again. And that's kind of what happened with me with the songs like Give You the World and also Mother. Like those songs just automatically just like just like David said, like gave me the little earworm where it was just stuck in my head and I constantly just wanted to hear it. And then that some of the lyrics, depending on who you are, might resonate with you a little bit more, which was why I liked Give You the World. Like those lyrics in that song resonated with me. So just like any soundtrack, you'll have songs that you like more than others, just like with any album that you listen to. So I definitely recommend, number one, watching the anime, and also number two, like listening to the soundtrack and listening to the complete works of a lot of the artists that are there, because you'll definitely find some hidden gems there.
Yeah, not a hard show to watch. This is 22-minute episodes, 20-something episodes. It's like
It's on Netflix.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. So check it out. Yeah. Those are our thoughts on Carole Tuesday's vocal collection. Now we get to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, our haiku reviews. Or sum it all up.
I lied in the opening. I lied. No, we're actually.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. Brett. Why do I keep pointing the wrong way? Brett, what is your haiku?
Vocals up in front. It's a pretty good package. Holds the cheesy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what is your haiku?
Good musicianship with talented pop vocals likely won't return.
Mm-hmm. David, what is your haiku?
Like the anime, it's actually very good. Liked, but didn't love.
My haiku, feel good, cute soundtrack with music crafted for each distinct character. And Shay, last but not least, what is your haiku?
Mine is Carole Tuesday. Album keeps me a groovin' and keeps me thinking.
I didn't think Carole Tuesday. That is the perfect stanza. Wow, it's like so obvious.
I told you guys she was good. Didn't I tell you she was good?
I didn't even think about it. Damn, it's like Elevator. It's just perfect mix. Yeah. Before we get that's Carole Tuesday's vocal collection. You can find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your
and
due
win
diligence.
fabulous prizes.
Yes, and do your due diligence and your due diligence. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and that'll be the guest episode. We like to put it right in the middle of the cycle. So of course this is going to be my episode. It's going to be my album, and my album. I'm going to give us some more Celia Cruz. I'm going to give us some more salsa.
Did you call me?
I'm going to give us and we're going to jump forward because we talked about Celia y Johnny last time, which was in 1974, which was already 26 years into her career at that point. And now we're going to skip forward about 28 more years, let's say, to 2001, a couple of years before we her unfortunate passing, but to her album La Negra Tiene Tumbao. It's going to be a really cool look at, like, even that late into her career, she still had it. She still had it. It was still Santa Cruz. But that's that. That'll be next week, and this is this week. Before I talk about where you can find everyone else, Shay, where can people find you? What do you got going on? What can you tell the fine folks?
Yeah. So where you can find me is you can find me on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Shay Taree. I upload videos 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. I mostly do a lot of anime-related content, either reviews or discussions.
Yeah, and of course you can find her on Twitter at Shay_Taree, right there.
Mm-hmm. AREE.
Yes.
And of course you can find the rest of us all over the internet. Brett is at Hibbity Bibbert, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Matt is at Murdic W. David is at Call Me DJM. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com is the email. Rebelli TV on YouTube and on Twitch. Rebelli.net for listening to other shows. Find us everywhere you find podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Like, share, subscribe. Stick around for the Twitch streams. Hang around with me. We stream the episodes weekly on Wednesdays, our regular cycle episodes at least. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, do all the things, hit the bell, slap the walrus, spank the monkey, do all the things. Until next time.
Pelican.
Hasta los ojos.
Toodaloo.
Rebelli Podcast, baby.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.